Can I just say that the book of Enoch, I believe, is a legitimate source of information, true information. Why do I believe that? Because the Apostle Jude, the half-brother of Jesus, believed that enough to quote an entire chapter of it in the book of Jude. It's also quoted by Jesus, and I've read the book of Enoch, and I don't find any major contradictions to any doctrine of the Bible. Now, what makes this significant, let's read this. Jesus, James, and Jude all quoted from Enoch 1. Both James and Jude were half-brothers of Jesus. They spent more time with Jesus than his apostles. Jude went so far as to quote an entire paragraph verbatim. He quotes Enoch 1:1. He says, when they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls in Cave 1 of Qumran, Enoch 1 was among them. It was dated to 300 BC. This proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Enoch 1 existed before Jesus and that Jesus was familiar with it along with his two half-brothers. Lastly, Jude was under divine Holy Spirit inspiration when he wrote his epistle, which included a paragraph of Enoch 1. So this is why we give credence to the book of Enoch. Now, let me just say this. The 66 books of the canon are the final say on any matter of doctrine or practice, okay? We don't put the book of Enoch above it, but I do believe it is not some medieval forgery. There are medieval forgeries that are called Enoch. Enoch 2, Enoch 3, those are forgeries. They were not found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They cannot be dated back to 300 BC. All right? So this is very significant. Now, of course, the book of Enoch was included in the Ethiopian Bible. But let's just keep going here. All right? This is Enoch 92. This is the prophecy I was talking about. So the prophecy about this end time stuff, and remember, even Enoch 1 says that the book of Enoch would be for the people of the last days that would be going through the tribulation, which I find very interesting. But this is what it says. Now I'm going to read this. Enoch 92, 10 through 14. He says, after that, in the 6th week, all those who are in it shall be darkened. The hearts of all them shall be forgetful of wisdom. And in it shall a man arise and come forth, the Messiah, at the end of the 6th millennium. And during its completion, he shall burn the house of dominion with fire, and all the race of the elect root shall be dispersed. And the destruction of Jerusalem and the disbursement of those who dwell in that land at the end of the 6th and beginning of the 7th millennium. Now, we don't understand how he's timing this, and this is a long prophecy, but he says this in verse 12. That's very interesting. So he's talking about, in those first few verses, about when the Messiah comes first, when Jesus came, and after he died and rose from the dead and left, and then there was the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And so he says afterwards, or after this, later, in the 7th week, a perverse generation shall rise. Well, that's our generation. Abundant shall be its deeds, and all its deeds perverse. Now listen to that. During its completion, the righteous shall be selected from the everlasting plant of righteousness. Who's the plant of righteousness? Jesus. So there's going to be righteous ones selected, and to them shall be given the sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation. Now that to me is speaking directly to what has happened since 2014 and 15. And this is not just an American thing. This has been worldwide. And it was like a switch got flipped. And there were certain ones that just could see it and grasp it and share it. And this, even if you want to believe this was some medieval deception, which I think we've proven that's not the case. But how could you get this right? From the 1200s or the 1300s or the 1400s. You might know about the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD, but you wouldn't be able to know that in the last of the last days, when everything became perverse, there would be a revelation given about the doctrine, the true doctrine of creation. And why would there need to be one? See, this foretells they would know that there would be a false science rise up, a false narrative, a false teaching, a deception concerning creation that would be so strong that the Lord would have to pick some people out to give revelation and understanding to it, to open their eyes and help them see it. And that obviously this would be important in the last days to set people free. Now I can say all this and I can read this now, almost 5 years into this, going, this Revelation, this sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation, the truth, the understanding, the spirit of wisdom and revelation on this now is setting captives free and saving souls like crazy. And what the devil's doing right now is he's fighting a lot of Christians who believe this and can explain this because they're worried about being persecuted, ridiculed, mocked, rejected. They don't want the battle. But hear what I'm going to say to you. This revelation, this truth about the shape of the earth, about the true nature of the sun, moon, and stars, about the still, motionless earth, this is so vitally important to our age that has been deceived by a bunch of occultists and Freemasons and Satanists who have a space program. You hear me?